I think people forgot the red pill is just simply, information and do with it what you will. But I guess a lot of grifters and creators have come into space. You don't even have to call it red pill. You could just call it people in general that are giving dating advice, like TikTok level brain slop. And I think it stems from a lot of these new younger creators that kind of they were kids that were glued on, and maybe even other shows, but Aladdin, Little Mermaid, thinking that some princess is going to spot your heart, right, and swoon over you because you're special, like you're the hero in that little fairy tale, and should have kissed happily ever after, right? But reality doesn't work like that at all. That's what the Disney mentality is. It's and it should stay as a harmless bedtime story for men. But somehow it turned into this fucking trap because it has men chasing women, thinking that they're gonna find one that loves them for them, right? She's gonna love me, for your quirks, for your dreams, your inner beauty, and she doesn't, and she never will. Because the truth is, women aren't wired for that unconditional shit. The sooner you swallow the real red pill, the sooner you stop essentially torching your life on romantic delusions that are going to leave you broke, probably bitter and alone. And you'll be wondering why every right swipe turns into dead ends constantly. So, for the she's not loving you for you aspect, she's in it for provision, protection. That's the real world shit that keeps her safe because that's just biology talking. It's not Hallmark cards, you guys. Stop hunting for your mom's fucking coddling in a grown woman's curves. Do you understand what I'm saying here? Like she's going to tuck you in at night and whisper that you're enough just for fucking breathing because that's the kid stuff. You're a man now. You understand? So at least you're supposed to be in the West, but that's a whole nother story in and of itself. And so a lot of men are clinging onto that fantasy is why they're still swiping right on every fucking little smile that reminds them of that childhood hug, only to wake up wondering why it feels so damn hollow. Like you're the only sucker buying the lie that love's free and easy when it's always been a damn transaction. That's the truth. It's always been. So you think jetting off to Thailand or Ukraine's going to rewrite the script for a lot of guys. That's what they believe. They're going to land in some untouched paradise and snag a, quote, traditional gem who's pure and untouched by the West's chaos. It's the same damn playbook, you guys, everywhere, because women run on instinct. And the instinct is security, strength, a guy who doesn't fold under pressure. No passport stamp is going to be a magic spell that makes her fall for your fucking dad jokes. You understand? So if you're fleeing overseas to dodge your own baggage, you're just hauling it across borders. It's like a cursed suitcase following you around, and you'll still fucking crash when you realize that the women don't change overseas. Okay? The only real difference really is they're not fat and they're a little more feminine. That's it. So, and to guys in the West, the standards have gotten that low. So, wherever you go, you can consider like the economy is the same rigged game. Wages are flat. Everything is skyrocketing. You're still the average dude scraping by 65K, let's just say a year after taxes, rent eating half your check, student loads bleeding you dry, and you got no room left for a decent date without dipping in a ramen money. Understand? And then that's dating in the West in a nutshell. When you go overseas, essentially what happens is the 65K check, if you can maintain it online, puts you in the top percentile. It'd be like making 150K in the United States. You will run into the similar issues, though. It doesn't matter. The problem is the true love myth. It's a scam, and they got peddled by the fucking rom-coms and the Taylor Swift anthems, and it makes everyone believe that soulmates who click without any conditions, it's just love at first sight, but it's always been a transaction. It's just raw and pragmatic in nature. And women nailed that memo ages ago. They already understood this for a long time. They're sizing you up, dude, based on your wallet, your frame, your backbone. Do you have a spine on you or do you fold? And is she going to walk all over you? They check for this, right? You have to, don't be the guy essentially scribbling fucking love poems like you're in a fucking Jane Austen fever dream. So flip that shit back and vet her the way they vet you. You got to be ruthless, clear-eyed, because you're not casting for a fucking fairy godmother. You're building a team for the long haul. And half-assing that hire, if you consider yourself the boss of your life, is going to cost you everything. Just like it costs the average guy who buys the Disney bullshit and he ends up alone at 40, scrolling apps with a beer gut and black-pilled stare, and he's asking himself why he couldn't make it work when the math never added up in the first place. Worse yet, The dudes who got married and ended up losing everything because they were never the first choice anyways. They went on the she loves me for me instinct. It's Disney happy ever after. She'll learn to love me. Our bonds will grow. That's not, no. No. You got sold a lie. Okay. Attraction starts from self improvement, from discipline, for becoming the best version of yourself, for earning as much money as you possibly can, for taking care of all these little things that, quote, make you attractive a man. Okay. You have to start grilling them on real shit. Does she cook? Does she clean? Can she nurture a home? And we're not talking that weird ass like tradcon cuck shit, not some retro fetish. We want to see, is she really all in? Investing in sweat equity, not just vibes. I want to plant a garden because vibes, it looks cool on TikTok. Like, really, does she like doing that? Does she get down like that? Body count, low or virgin, for the guys that are looking for that, especially the dudes that are heavily Christian and still going to church. It's not slut shaming. It's just pattern spotting for impulse issues down the line, right? You'll inherit that shit like bad debt. Did she grow up with a rock solid dad who modeled manhood for her? Or is she lugging daddy issues that'll turn you into unpaid fucking therapist? You understand? So be careful with the social media use. I have to repeat this one all the time because I think it's become the number one issue today. And it's become the main distraction in someone's life and the main progenitor of propaganda in everybody's life today. If she has a bad relationship with social media, nothing will save you. Not her father, not her family life, not how she grew up. Nothing. You lost. We've seen plenty of videos of grandmothers at 65 feeling like they can divorce their husbands and leave their 3-4 kids and go start over fresh. And that's fucking, it's out of control. You're 60, lady. What are you talking about? Because TikTok told you so. You understand? So you have to treat these like, these are the most important non-negotiables, because ignoring them for just that hot flash or the chemistry, because you're going to see some chick with a really pretty face or huge titties or whatever it is, and you'll end up in a cage that you built for yourself. And you'll wonder where that magic went when she's already eyeing the exit or the next upgrade. Or worse, when you put the ring on her and she completely switches up on you, which is what a lot of guys report. Because you were never the guy anyways. She just secured the check, the provisioning and protection. So now she can let her guard down and relax. This happens to a lot of guys all the time. It's brutal. So, you know, the real toll of swallowing this so-called Disney Kool-Aid, you're not just going to be nursing a broken heart. You're going to hemorrhage, dude. Time, cash, self-respect, blowing stacks on dinner, do-overs for fucking ghosts who ghosted because you skipped all the vetting. You erode your edge. You'll turn into a fucking simp. You'll be begging for scraps. Instead of feeling like a king who commands the board, dude, you're going to be a fucking, there's no other thing worse to call you than a simp. And that's a man hoe. That's the version of a hoe for a man, is a simp. You give up your most important asset. Simps in the chat. What's going on, guys? How's everybody doing? Excuse me while I have some homemade goulash. My girl just brought it while this video was playing. My wife. Goulash, homemade. You see that? Come to the Balkans, get your own goulash, homemade. Listen, guys, I don't know how well the live stream is going to go today. We have a couple topics I want to cover. I'm in a new place. I'm waiting to get wired internet. I'm on Wi-Fi. If the connection drops, apologies ahead of time. It is absolutely fire. Peep that. So we are definitely doing what we can. Let me see. I'm only streaming on YouTube, by the way, not on Rumble. I don't think I can survive. My internet is not good enough for 2 streams. The state of the world today is ass. And I really want to cover it. Let me just eat this. We fell short of actually declaring war, but he's preparing Congress not to declare outright war, but he says we're in a state of armed conflict with the cartels. We'll cover that topic today, right now. Let your boy eat. I haven't eaten all day. I got a headache. So don't mind me. Plus, this doubles as a stream test too. So let me make sure everything's working. I can see the chat. We're the slowly crumbling frog in boiling water. It does feel that way, doesn't it? Unfortunately. I can't say that that is not the truth. What a predicament we're in, yeah? Since they introduce your wife. I guess you guys would consider this a good thing, but she doesn't care about being on streams, on the internet, any of that. Believe me, I tried. I tried to get her in videos. I told her, come here, introduce it. Hey, have fun on camera. No, she's like, I'm from a different world. So, private person. That's a good thing. Yeah. I think you have a woman that, if she's seeking to be on the internet, if she wants to be constantly on cam, I think that'd probably be a red flag. Yeah. If you're talking traditional women with some self-respect and, you know, she wants to be cooking, she wants to be planting shit in the garden, she doesn't care for the internet. She doesn't even have social media. The only social media she has is because I made her make an account so I could just blast her with memes in the DMs. Currently in Croatia, but here temporarily. We'll be headed out back to the stateside, but I'm enjoying an insanely priced place for like $1,200 a month. It's like a 6-bedroom villa off of the Adriatic Sea, literally, to walk down to the sea. So just got off with a private call with the boys on the private community. If you haven't, do join you. It's actually a blast. And let me put that up. I noticed somebody made a comment about there being no snapback caps. Here you go, bro. We have snapback caps now. All right. There. So that black hat, they started the new snapbacks. They're in. Get yours on the website. For those asking, I'm eating goulash. I'm almost done, dude. I'm a pretty quick eater, but I'm talking right now. I would have wolfed this down already. I don't enjoy my food. I don't eat for pleasure. Just kidding. I'm an inner fat kid. We'll get serious here. I need to make new merch. So if you have been getting merch, appreciate you. If I didn't have an insane metabolism, I'd already be 400 fucking pounds. Believe me. Yeah, coffee cups. Let me put that one up. Hoflation. Dude, that pisses so many people off. And said, you reach 500 subs on YouTube? When can you start selling merch? I don't know what YouTube's like requirements are to get monetized in that sense. Yeah, you said someone got the hat and wear it in San Francisco. Dude, you're going to piss a lot of people off. Hey, Ball, I'm from Bosnia. Things here are slowly improving. But women in my generation are slowly becoming like American ones, also working on becoming electrical engineer. Thanks for the advice. Good shit, brother. Yeah, the younger generation's oftentimes extremely cooked compared to middle or older aged women. And It's funny I said middle or older age. What I'm saying is past like 25, consider that middle, and 30 more on the older end. But if you're dating and your age range is from, or if you have a wider age range, if you go from 19 to like 30, dude, at least in the Balkans, anything over 25 is absolutely solid as a woman. You know, they cook, they clean, they're not degenerates. They grew up in a whole different time period. But once you get to these 19-year-olds, for example, this is the TikTok generation. Despite living in the Balkans, they can't cook. They're not really clean. They're fucking vaping. They're saying stupid shit like. I'm hearing English words often spoken mixed in with a native tongue. They're brain rotted out of their fucking minds. So yeah, the window on getting a decent woman is rapidly closing. I think they have a funny meme saying like if to get married today, it feels like the last chopper out of Nam. No, dude, to get a decent woman, the last chopper out of Nam is probably in the next 5 years. Yeah. There's not much time left. My video popped in on YouTube as a normal video, not a live stream. Can you guys verify that? All right, we're done. Appreciate you watching me eat like a fucking maniac. Jesus Christ. Talk about bad manners. Excuse me, Mom. Gen Alpha's screwed. Gen Alpha will be beating off to Goon Queens, yeah. There will be no dating with Gen Alpha. Gen Alpha is going to have a population worse than a collapse. They're going to enter a fucking calamity. Okay. Let's put this. Jesus Christ, you can see the food, huh? And where can we hide that? Put it down here. Okay. Try not to be a damn pig. Again, appreciate everybody. This is what the hats look like in person. Absolutely solid. Okay. For everybody asks, this is not the snapbacks. The snapbacks are just added. These are the flex. I wear the flex. It's really nice. I don't have a giant fucking head, so it's not a problem for me. But if you got a big noggin in your huge ass dome, prefer snapbacks. They're available. Okay. Don't wear the hat in New York. Yeah, a lot of people have said that they've dealt with some crazy shit wearing the red hat. And then people will read it says make masculinity great again, and then they chill out a bit. Fire Goulash, 10 out of 10. Thank you. She's watching, most likely. Okay. So, let's see. Topics for today I wanted to cover. Some interesting things I saw in the news. I'm a bit late to report on some stuff for you. But we have to talk about it. So what did I want to talk about today? Well, 3 things, and then we'll go do some reactions. So what I've seen happening recently is, at least in the last week, or even right now in the last couple of days, and then once you put these 3 things together, by the way, you start to see a pattern that should kind of scare the shit out of a lot of you. And it definitely scares me because I've been watching a bunch of content on the economy as well. And it's kind of eerie how this is all, I guess, lining up into the big reset, I guess. Yeah, the layoffs are absolutely out of control. So we are watching the American economy showing very serious cracks, guys, while our government is essentially, we're shut down right now. Not even essentially. We are shut down over a bunch of partisan bullshit. And simultaneously, we declare war on drug cartels like we're in a fucking Tom Clancy novel or something. So buckle up and pull yourself up by your bootstraps and enjoy the ride, because we're going to unpack some of this stuff right now.
And I wanted to start with the most important one that people aren't even paying attention, but they probably should be, to be honest. And that's the collapse of Tricolor and Tricolor Holdings specifically. How many people, I'm just curious in the chat, how many people actually know about what's going on with the auto market and Tricolor Holdings? So this should start, this is like the rumble of what's going on right now. And I was reading about this for the last, after the phone call with the guys or the Zoom meeting. This is what I just found out about it today. So, and I was doing a bunch of research. And so the collapse of Tricolor Holdings, which on September 10th, essentially, it's a Dallas-based used car dealer and lender. And they just filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. And before you tune out thinking like, oh, whatever, bro, this is just another business failure, I'll explain to you why this matters and why it's, I would call it a canary in the coal mine for what's coming down the pipeline. So Tricolor, if you don't know who they are, they specialized in subprime auto loans, like bottom of the barrel stuff, if you could think of that. Lending to people who couldn't get credit anywhere, basically anywhere at all, mostly Hispanic immigrants using individual taxpayer identification numbers, or ITINs is what you call them for short, instead of social security numbers, right? So these people have no credit history. They don't have a driver's license. Basically, they're the most high-risk borrowers that you could imagine. And they were charging 20 to 29% APR on these loans. Illegals. Another word for this is illegals. You could say that as well. Which 30% is predatory, bro. That's the numbers our homies get in the military when they get their Challenger fresh off that first like E1 paycheck. Calm down. Don't get wrecked with your 30% payment. Okay, so these predatory loans, but you could say they're predatory, but technically it's legal still. So this usury shit's got to go. It's out of control. So they had 65 dealerships across Texas, Arizona, and California. And in 2024 alone, they originated over $1 billion in auto loans, which, they then packaged up because we didn't learn from the 0809 economic collapse. So they packaged up all of this shit into asset-backed securities. And then guess what they did with them? They sold them to the banks and investors. And here's where it gets really interesting, because these securities, they were rated AAA by the agencies like Kroll. And these are like these agencies have a lot of authority. So when you get rated AAA, right, you're thinking just like months before the collapse in 0809. Literally, this is the highest possible rating, right? This is the same rating they give U.S. Treasury bonds, you guys. And now those bonds are trading at 12 cents on the dollar. So think about this for a second. You got AAA rated securities backed by loans to people with no credit history, no documentation, and they're paying some insane rate like 25% interest on used cars that were probably overvalued to begin with. And the banks bought this shit up like it was free money, which should start sounding familiar if you remember 2008. And that was the same shit with the subprime mortgage crisis. This is the same playbook. We're seeing it in the auto industry. They learned nothing. It's just houses, or it's just cars instead of houses. Excuse me. Do you see how this crash begins to happen? And the numbers are fucking staggering. We're talking $5 billion in outstanding loans, and they're tied to roughly 100,000 vehicles. And the company just opted for full liquidation instead of reorganization, which means that they're not even trying to restructure. They're just saying, fuck it, we're done. Sell everything, and whatever is left, it goes to the creditors. And those creditors are some big fucking names. This is what's scary. Fifth Third Bank Corp. They disclosed up to $200 million in losses from a single loan to Tricolor. JP Morgan Chase is another one. Barclays, Origin Bank Corp, Renaissance Bank, Triumph Financial. I have the list here on my screen on the right. They're all on the hook for hundreds of millions in write-downs. And Washington Trust literally resigned as the trustee because the whole thing was such a fucking mess They didn't even want to deal with the payment chaos. Jeez Louise. Okay. And the part that really pisses me off about this is, and this is where the fraud comes in. Okay. Because the court filings are showing that Tricolor, listen, I kid you not, they were inflating the vehicle collateral values. So they were saying things like, if you can imagine a car with 50,000 miles on it, they were put that it only had 30,000, and they were double pledging assets. So meaning, if you're not a financial whiz, right, they were using the same car as collateral for multiple loans, and they had irregularities abound in loan documentation that the Justice Department and the SEC are now investigating. So they cooked the absolute shit out of their books. So I'll paint you a picture of what this, or how this works on the ground, because the numbers here don't actually do it justice, and you can't really tell what the story's like. So, okay, imagine you're a dude and your name's Miguel, okay? And you're working 2 jobs as a dishwasher and maybe an Uber driver, and you're pulling down, say, $35,000 a year. And Miguel needs to get a car to get to work, right? Because public transport in Texas, let's say, is basically non-existent in most of the United States. So you, Miguel, you walk into this Tricolor dealership, and they're not going to ask you for credit. They're not going to do a credit check. They won't ask you for a fucking driver's license. They don't ask for anything except proof that you pay taxes via the ITIN. So then they sell you a 2015 Honda Civic piece of shit with like 80,000 miles on it for 18 G's, which is already overpriced by probably $5,000 in the market. And Miguel, you don't really know what the fuck's the accurate price of the car. Anyways, you're just desperate, bro. You need a car. And you're probably dumb enough to trust the dealer, or you have no choice but to trust this dealer because no one else will give you one. So then they rip you the fuck off, and then they finance the whole thing with 24% APR over like 6 years, which means your monthly payment on that massive piece of shit is going to be like $450 or $500 a month. And over the life of the loan, you're going to pay well over $30,000 for a car that was worth maybe $13,000 when you bought it. So Miguel's now going to get deported, and he's in debt. Insane. And it gets worse because Tricolor takes the loan, and this is how they fuck everyone over. They bundle it with 999 other loans, and then it creates an asset-backed security. Then they get Kroll to rate it AAA because historically these loans perform well. That's what they say. And the borrowers are highly motivated to pay. It's a car, bro. Got to get to work. Can't afford to not pay my car note. And then they go and they sell this piece of shit security, which is claimed to be a AAA, by the way. And they sell this to JP Morgan, Fifth Third, for something like 95 cents on the dollar. Then they pocket this cash immediately, and the bank owns the risk. This is your subprime mortgage crisis happening with cars. Except the bank doesn't think it's risk because it's rated AAA again. So they lever it up maybe 10 to 1. And now the $1 billion pool of shitty car loans is supporting $10 billion in other investments. And when those loans start defaulting at 10%, which they did, the whole house of cards starts to shake. Do you understand how this system works? We're creating fucking money out of absolute cesspool of shit assets. This is what happened in the housing market. Nobody went to jail besides a mid-level executive, by the way. So what happens to Miguel? What happens to you? So he's still making his $450 fucking payments, right? Every month, just like fucking clockwork, because you need the fucking car to survive in the United States, of course. But his neighbor, and we'll say his neighbor is Jose. Jose isn't fine because Jose got laid off when the local restaurant closed. And his neighbor, Maria, isn't, because immigration enforcement ramped up under Trump. And her husband got deported. So she's supporting the family alone, now on one income instead of two. And suddenly 10% of these loans are in default, which becomes 12%, which becomes 15%. Do you see how the dominoes begin to fall here. So Tricolor's watching their whole fucking portfolio implode because they're trying to repossess cars, but the cars aren't worth what they lent against them because they inflated the values. So they're taking essentially $8,000 losses on every repossession. Their warehouse lines with the banks, and they're getting called nonstop. The banks are demanding, give me the fucking, I need the collateral right now. And they don't have it because they already pledged some cars twice, if not more than once, to different lenders. And the whole thing collapses in a matter of weeks. They're trying to pay off all these lenders, dude. They can't. Hence the SEC investigation. So on September 1st, it was reported that they halted sales. And by September 5th, they furloughed 2,000 employees, right? And by September 10th, they filed Chapter 7. And by September 15th, those AAA rated bonds are trading at 78 cents on the dollar for the senior branches, and that's 12%, or I should say, 12 cents for the junk shit, which just means if you bought $1 million of this paper, you now have about $120,000 left. Congratulations, you got an 88% loss on your AAA rated security. AAA, Kroll, thank you for rating this AAA and repackaging this bullshit again. This entire, we live in such a scammy ass society. I can't even begin to explain to you how insane this is, that people should be going to jail for this. Okay, so I want to use this to connect to the broader economy and why you should give a shit. Even if you're not interested in the subprime auto lending business, because, Tricolor isn't fucking unique. They're just the first domino to fall. Like the entire subprime auto market is, I think, $200 billion, right? That's pretty fucking big. And delinquencies across the sector hit 10% in Q3 of this year right now, which is the highest rate since, you guessed it, if you're thinking, 2008, since the financial collapse. And speaking of the finances of these banks and stuff, Ally Financial, which I've used myself, by the way, it's one of the biggest auto lenders in the country. I've used Ally often. They're very easy to deal with. And they got $100 billion in originations annually. And although they're not directly tied to Tricolor, they are doing the same exact thing. They issued these synthetic securitizations, if you can consider them that. Securitizations, in August of 25, right? They partner with companies like Carvana, which had almost 30% delinquency rates in their 2022 pools, right? And I remember I can't remember which was Q2 or Q3 earnings. It was showing an insane increase in delinquencies, right? So this is why they were cutting these loan volumes by something like 15%. You're hearing Carvana was in trouble, might need to get bailed out, something like that. Okay. And then you have to look at it from a kind of outsider, omnipotent perspective, omniscient, because it's not just the lenders, right? The ripple effects are going to start hitting in other sectors too. So First Brands is a $10 billion auto parts manufacturer, and they filed for bankruptcy on September 28th. And they cited $6 billion in private debt. And you guessed it, why? Not for bad business, but tied to the subprime supply chains, because when people can't afford their car payments, they sure as hell aren't buying new brake pads. You understand? Or air filters, or whatever the fuck it is. And when dealers like Tricolor go under, they're not ordering any more inventory from these suppliers. So here's the domino about the whole vertical from top down is crashing. So CarMax, same shit. The stock dropped 21% in a single day when the Tricolor news broke. Think about that. And the used car prices are falling 5 to 10% more than what they've already fallen, because you have 30,000 repossessed vehicles that are about to flood the market. And the dealers are scrambling right now to figure out what happens when 100,000 customers who were making payments to Tricolor, but now don't know who owns their loans or where to send the money. That's insane, right? So the Texas AG is telling borrowers to just keep paying to avoid repossession. But who do you pay? Seriously, the company's in liquidation. There is no customer service. The website is down. The fucking trustee is trying to figure out which bank owns which loan because the documentation is so fucked up from the double pledging that nobody knows who actually has the title to these vehicles. Fraud, bro, punishable by death. This is crazy. And the sickest fucking part of this is the Tricolor CEO spent the last 3 years giving TED Talks about building wealth from the undeserved. Motherfucker, dude. And he calls it financial inclusion while he was running a fucking fraud scheme that was going to blow up and hurt the exact people he claimed he was helping. They're sick. These people are sick in the fucking head. These people weren't even wealthy buying luxury cars, dude. These were fucking dishwashers and landscapers and housekeepers, and they needed cars to get to work and shit, and got sold absolute garbage at criminal interest rates secured by fraudulent collateral valuations. And this guy will walk away. It's fine, bro. He's getting his 8th yacht, Ted. Don't worry about him. This is what happens when you have a two-tier economy where the bottom 40 fucking percent of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. Wages have been stagnant, you guys, for 20 fucking years. They don't tell you that. Inflation ate up whatever gains people made. And the only way they can access basic necessities like, say, transportation is through predatory lenders charging you 25 fucking percent. Then the financial system takes that desperation, packages up, calls that shit a triple A, and sells it to pension funds. You understand? And to the insurance companies who are going to eat the massive losses on top of that. Fucking A. That's insane. Let me get through some super chats and drink a little water.
Noman $5.87. I appreciate the content, brother. Greetings from China.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you tuning in. Damn, all the way in China.
EG $4.99. Nobody from a big bank goes to jail for fraud in the USA. This is nothing new.
Yeah. It's not, and people don't demand change. This is not going to stop, guys. They never pay for their crimes. That's what's crazy.
Hell yeah, America $50 at car and now homes. Biden with mortgage backs pushing payments at the end of the loan made 25 plus millions did this, now haven't paid for 2 years trying to sell the house at the top with inflated value. 2008 will look like child's play.
Yep. I don't think people realize. And on top of that, you add in the pressure on wages from AI job losses, and you'll understand that your job will never come back. Wages will not rise for a long time. And we're headed for a job market that will not be able to service tens of millions of people potentially in the next 5 years. Yeah. It's not looking good. By the way, for the mods in the chat, ban any weirdo cursing, doing weird shit like that. Keep us safe for YouTube. They're very strict here. Okay. I'm going to drink water and we'll continue. Jeez Louise, dude. The numbers are out of control, dude. I think we had something like 300 plus thousand auto loans that defaulted, you guys. Just in this quarter alone of this year, 300 fucking thousand. This is insane. Like, does that sound like a healthy market? That's crazy. And they're hitting the disproportionate, like low income households. And these people have what is the low income household? The median I think is around $35,000. People in service sector jobs, dude, where unemployment's already at like near 5%. And then you're starting to see the same pattern that led to this 08, 09 crash. This time cars instead of houses. But even the housing problem. Okay, so think of it like this. Once the cars come down, we don't even have a strong economy because the housing market is hurting almost to 08, 09 levels as well. The housing market also has, I think, up to 1 million delinquencies in FHA loans that the government has been paying using taxpayer money to not cause a ripple effect in the market. I don't think I'm crazy on this. Can somebody, I'll check this shit myself. Or somebody can check it for me before I lose my train of thought, please. What is the FHA delinquencies right now? That's confirmed? Okay, there you go. So up to 1 million, I believe. But the federal government is currently footing the bill on people that have been in their houses for up to 2 years is what I was hearing. 2 years, you guys, delinquent because of the ripple effect. Now we have a weak car market. Do you see how fucked up? This economy is not good like the Republicans are claiming. You know, Trump saying we got a strong economy. We're creating all the jobs. Okay, China, you're doing the terror. No, you're not. You're not doing anything. We're actually getting fucked big time, which is why he has to roll back on some of the shit he said. And I'll cover this in another video, but our farmers are getting absolutely destroyed. Destroyed. Our soybean farmers haven't gotten a single cent from China this year. They're in such a shitter that he has to, and he's already said, because he doesn't want American farmers to go under in his watch. So he's going to give American farmers, essentially bailing them out, subsidies from the tariff money to help keep them afloat. China hasn't bought a single fucking soybean. So, I mean, it's a shithole for this economy. Think about it. The median American can't afford a $400 emergency, dude. A single expense of $400 without going into debt. You think they can afford a $450 car payment when their rent is up 20% and groceries cost twice what they did just 3 years ago? And gas prices are still elevated. What do you think is going to fucking happen? They default and their car gets repossessed and they lose their job because they can't get to work. And then they go on unemployment or fucking welfare or just disappear into the underground. The shadow economy. And the whole cycle fucking starts to accelerate. This subprime auto lending was supposed to be isolated. This thing that it's just, hey, it's car. Like it's just $200 billion in a $23 trillion economy. No problem, bro. It's only 1% of GDP. Well, how much damage could it really do? Think about this, which is the same exact thing they said about the subprime mortgages in 2006. And we know how that fucking turned out for the economy. So who's gaslighting who here? And the real question is, how many other tricolors are there out in the market right here? Like, how many other leaders are using the same fraudulent practice? Is this industry-wide? Are they all inflating collateral values? Are they all double pledging assets? Are they lying to rating agencies? And we won't know until they start falling too. And that's how the 08 subprime crash happened. Which brings me to the next part of the story that I want to talk about. Because while our economy is showing these serious stress fractures with all this subprime auto bullshit, and it collapsing and all the delinquencies rising, and you got small businesses are shutting down and supply chains are breaking right in front of us. What's our government doing, you guys? Are they addressing any of this? Are they passing emergency legislation to help working families who are about to lose their cars and their jobs shortly after? What do you think they're doing? No. They shut down the fucking government over Obamacare subsidies. That's really what they shut it down over, okay? I was looking on both Republican and conservative side of this. So on October 1st, a few days ago, the federal government entered the partial shutdown because Congress couldn't pass a continuing resolution to fund operations past, September 30th, right? And this is the 15th shutdown since 1981, the 21st since 76. And we're so used to this dysfunction now that it barely registers as fucking news anymore. Oh, yeah, the government's shutting down. Oh, yeah, partisan bullshit. Oh, yeah, must be another Tuesday in America. Government is so shut down, bro. Really? Really? So Republicans control the House 220 to 215. They control the Senate 53 to 47. They control the White House. So they have technically a complete trifecta. And they still couldn't keep the government open because Democrats refused to pass a clean continuation resolution that would extend funding to the fiscal year 2025 through mid-November. Is that what happened here? And the fight was over not restoring $1.5 trillion in Medicare and Obamacare, essentially, right? And those were the subsidies that they're fighting over, the ones Trump cut with an executive order back in March. This is what we're shutting the government down for. And if you remember, Trump's executive order targeted what he called the wasteful spending in all those programs, including all the subsidies for low-income enrollees and, the people that were eligible through immigration. And yes, the Democrats are saying they wouldn't vote for any funding bill that doesn't reverse those cuts. And the Republicans are saying, well, you're just trying to fund illegal immigrant health care. But Americans are going to lose health care coverage because of this. And Republicans are saying that they won't pass any bill that includes any restorations like that because it's partisan giveaways and free health care for motherfucking illegals, which is insane. I'll give them that if that's what's actually happening. So I think Senate Majority Leader, what was his name? Thune. I think it was Thune. He's calling it, I read the headline, the Schumer shutdown. And it's a bunch of bullshit back and forth. So who do you think gets hurt under all of this? Think about who's most affected. You think the illegals getting their fucking health care, or how many? You think it's Chuck Schumer? You think it's Majority Leader Thune? You think it's the president? You think it's people in Congress, right? So then they schedule this fourth procedural fucking vote for October 3rd. Everyone knows it's going to fail. So Trump went with congressional leaders on the 2nd and basically said that a good opportunity to do mass fucking layoffs. He already had 100,000 layoffs incoming from people not renewing their contracts. And now this gives them another opportunity to remove hundreds of thousands more, which I'm for. Okay. We need a smaller government. There is a lot of bloat. So this is an opportunity to do mass layoffs in what they consider Democrat agencies like the EPA and HHS. So, okay, fine. What does this actually mean and what's actually happening? Because the partisan spin from both sides is completely detached from reality. I think personally. Tell me if I'm wrong, though. The Democrats are holding funding hostage to give free healthcare to illegal immigrants, which is, I think, bullshit. The subsidies they're talking about are for American citizens who buy insurance through the ACA marketplace, from what I read. And there's a fact check from Georgetown. I'm not sure how accurate Georgetown is, or if they're real partisan and Democrat nut jobs, that confirms that that's what it was. But the GOP keeps repeating that because obviously it plays well with the GOP voter base. Duh. MAGA, make America great again. Get rid of illegals. So somebody fact checked me on that one. Georgetown thinks that it was true, so fine. Okay. Let's just run with that for now. So then the Democrats are saying Trump is weaponizing the shutdown for revenge against blue states, right? That froze, or I would say by freezing $26 billion in projects like the green energy bullshit in California, which is mega corrupt. I think $9 billion, some fucking shit New York was doing, which is, that part's true. He said he's targeting Democratic agencies. Trump actually said that. And there's directives floating around for permanent cuts totaling something like $175 billion. And a lot of that is going through the urban Democratic districts the most, which is fine because Democrat cities are running like shit anyway. All the Democrat districts are fucking releasing criminals with like 34 arrests, not doing their job, trying to fucking harbor illegals. So fine, get rid of that. Somebody said $18 billion was for the New York infrastructure. Okay, you see? There you go. So, and how much of the $18 billion in New York was rife with corruption that the Democrats were taking? I don't know. There's corruption on both sides is what I'm saying, both Republican and Democrat. We have to get, and what I'm hoping from everybody that starts to watch more and more of these, we have to get away from it's a Republican, it's a Democrat kind of thinking, and it's us versus them. We, the people, have to deal with the snakes at the top, the politicians. Remember that they are public servants, but they act like the aristocracy, right? It's a big club and you ain't in it. So I want you guys to kind of take the emotions away from I'm MAGA, I'm liberal, I'm a progressive, fuck all those names. Forget all that. Okay, let's try to look at it from a wider angle of a lens and just see politicians for what they are. Garbage, rats, snakes, sellouts, and traitors. What else could you call them? I don't respect a single fucking one. Why would I? Show me a good politician. And I got a fucking oceanfront property to sell you in Phoenix. Okay? So both sides are using this shutdown to advance their fucking side and their partisan bullshit, right? They're trying to leverage their own political goals, you guys. And then there's, I think it's 800,000 or more federal workers that'll get furloughed without pay. Without pay, okay? And 1.4 million active duty military personnel. They'll have to keep working, but paychecks might not arrive, right? Until this bullshit gets resolved. And then you have 40 million Social Security residents that get delayed checks, as if our Social Security residents can face these kinds of delays. They're already paycheck to paycheck, and they're being squeezed by inflation the most. So all these delay checks, passport processing is getting halted. You're going to have millions of applications in the backlog. TSA is warning something like 30% longer wait times at the airport alone. So travel is going to be a pain in the ass. IRS refunds, that's frozen. If you're expecting money in this tax season, you file late, whatever, dealing with the IRS, good luck with that. FEMA, that's already fucked. Imagine FEMA now while the fucking government is shut down. Jesus Christ. Can you imagine that? It's already a joke. So, and they're strained in the middle of hurricane season, no less. And small businesses are already losing billions of dollars a week in halted contracts with the government. So that's hurting us directly as Americans in that sense. Okay, over what? Partisan points? Okay. And then Harvard did a little number crunching and they said it's $15 billion in GDP losses every week that this government shutdown continues. So, of course, what does the market say? Well, the market's dropped over 1% on October 2nd as the Congressional Budget Office was estimating that if it goes longer than 10 days, that we're looking at up to, I think it was 0.3% shaved off of our Q4 growth in our GDP. It doesn't sound like much until you realize that we're already on thin ice with the subprime auto collapsing and the fucking consumer spending declining and the fucking housing issue where we're subsidizing 1 million FHA loans and probably more. Do you understand how fragile this market is? And the real fucked up part about the shutdown, it's completely unnecessary. There's no actual policy disagreement that they can't resolve through some normal negotiation. Think about this shit. Just think about this. Republicans passed a bill in the House that funds the government at 94% of prior year levels with no cuts and no add-ons, just a straight continuation. And Democrats rejected it because it didn't restore health care, the subsidies to illegals, as they're claiming. Fucking really? So Democrats countered with a bill that includes the $1.5 trillion restoration, and Republicans rejected that. And now both sides are sitting there pointing the fingers, saying that the other side is at fault and that they're being unreasonable. Meanwhile, Trump is tweeting some shit like Dems want a shutdown for illegals. Not on my watch. And then he's simultaneously telling his people to use the shutdown to gut agencies he doesn't like, which is honest, hardworking Americans potentially. It's hard to say because we don't even know how much these agencies got propagandized by Democrats. So it's hard to say. We like to think, 800,000 government jobs, you guys, they're getting cut. Yes, bloat, Democrat, degenerates in office. You're thinking like troons and shit like that and rainbow flags everywhere and all. It could just be normal everyday Americans who just have a normal job working in the government. It doesn't have to be some diehard progressive nut jobs. It's just normal. It could be just normal Americans. But the way this is framed and makes it more palatable and gutting our fucking government is that we're dismantling 100% degen Democrats. So think about that. One second. Let me see here. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, I was trying to ban someone from chat. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, back to the political fucking theater and all this shit. Hello from Vietnam. What's going on, brother? So, I lost my train of thought. What was I saying? Okay, yeah. So the political theater shit, they're basically using this bullshit for partisan gain, and they're all thinking about the 2026 fucking midterms. Republicans will probably get to say that they're doing a good job and they're being fiscally responsible and not adding fucking trillions of dollars to the deficit. Never mind. Do you guys remember that in 2017, the Trump tax cuts added $2 trillion and nobody fucking batted an eye? And Democrats, they basically got to say they're fighting for the vulnerable Americans against cruel Republicans and all their cuts. And then Schumer gave in on border security back in March, and he got nothing in return for the Dems. We got idiots everywhere. So like either both sides are failing each other. If you think of the historical context, this is where this shit gets really insane. Shutdowns used to be rare events. And they used to cause like massive political fucking backlash, you guys. And, the 2018, 2009 shutdown, that shit lasted 35 days. And it cost Republicans seat in the midterms. And then you have shutdowns. I think you had shutdowns in the mid-90s under Gingrich. And that should destroy the GOP's approval ratings. But now we had 21 of these fucking things. And nothing ever changes. It's like those people that go, nothing ever changes. Nothing ever changed. Just watch. I'm starting to get into the nothing ever changes camp because it seems the ones that are most accurate are the wait and see because nothing ever changes. It's all theater. It's all political theater. So neither side gets what they want. Americans are inheriting a shitty economy and we're raising the debt ceiling again. And what are we going to do? What are we going to do, you guys? Think about it. The dollar is being debased. We're inflating our currency. We lost 10% of the dollar's value this year alone. Why do you think inflation is a thing? Why do you think everything is getting more expensive? They keep printing money. Congress has an 18% approval rating. How the fuck? 18%. That's worse than usual somehow. And both parties are doing the same shit over and over again, and they're expecting different results. Literally, that's insane. Literally. Dude, 10% in a year. They're getting exactly what they want, which is partisan talking points for the next fucking campaign. All these promises from Trump. You got what you voted for. You winning yet? You pinning those awards on you? Tired of winning? Get the fucking this got what I voted for award all in Israelis flag colors. Same old shit. Nothing ever changes for the average American. You vote in somebody that feels like it's savior. They sell their fucking assets to the highest bidder. Their assholes are sold out. Here we go. Yeah. Dude, and they like I saw and I like Rand Paul, by the way, and I saw him saying like this is fake outrage. And I like him. He's like his dad, Ron Paul, and they vote against the Fed. They seem to be fiscally conservative, but nothing ever changes. You got two guys yelling about being fiscally conservative, and the rest are just voting to just spend more and more money. The debt ceiling rises. How about we vote in a politician who doesn't raise the debt ceiling? And vulnerable Americans are getting fucked because these people won't compromise and just keep the government open. If you need to slash agencies, then actually slash the bloated ones. Oh yeah, we tried that. It was called Doge. And we fucking had to get a promise of $2 trillion. I believe that's what it was. $2 fucking trillion. We didn't even get 100 billion in cuts. Congress didn't codify the cuts, you guys. So Doge was a giant smokescreen of bullshit. That money just got rewired to the Department of Defense, if I'm not mistaken. And now Doge is operating, I don't even know in what fucking capacity anymore, but it was so broken that Elon was invested in that shit, and then he just walked away. He's like, dude, the government is absolutely fucked. I can't even fix the government. This is the guy that's putting fucking rockets in space. That's crazy. Isn't that? Okay. So this, from the perspective of somebody that's not in Washington and not playing these games, and imagine you're just trying to live your life, or you're a federal worker. Let's say you're like an air traffic controller, a VA nurse, or some fucking EPA dude. I don't know. You're making what, $65,000 a year? You got a fucking mortgage, bro. You got kids. You got car payments. And October 1st, your boss, the government, tells you that you're furloughed or that you're going to work without pay and you'll get back pay eventually. Once Congress gets their shit together, the same Congress that insider trades, the same Congress that votes to raise their fucking wages constantly every year, that Congress is telling you to work without pay. Incredible, yeah? So when is Congress going to get its shit together? Nobody knows. Nobody knows when that's going to be. 18% approval rating. Does it seem like they're getting their shit together? So then you got bills due. You got rent. You can't just not pay because your landlord doesn't care that Congress is fucking playing a game of chicken with each other. You're supposed to show up to work because you're, quote, essential, but you're doing shit for free with a promise that maybe in a week or two, if it lasts that long, or 5 fucking weeks, that you'll get paid retroactively and finally. And meanwhile, the senators and House members are still getting their checks. Did you know that? Because they exempted themselves from shutdown rules. Do you understand that they rule over us? You, the average worker for the federal government, has your paycheck frozen, but they don't. The ones at the top are exempt. Hear me on that. Rules for thee, not for me. You get a jab, we get exempt. You get your paycheck frozen, ours keeps coming in. Do you hear the difference here? Are you starting to understand that these people are leeches? Think about it. Or let's go the other route. Say you're a small business owner and you have federal contracts. For example, I've done governmental contracts too when I was doing remodeling and construction. So let's say you're a landscaper, for example, and you maintain, I don't know what, national parks, or you're a caterer and you provide food for the government, something like that. IT consulting, same shit for federal computers. Suddenly, all these contracts are now frozen. You get no new payments, no new work orders. You got employees that you need to pay and suppliers demanding money and your own bills to cover as a business owner. And you're just getting fucked because Republicans and Democrats can't agree whether 8 million Americans should have healthcare insurance, assuming that's what it's all is about anyways. Is it always this easy? Or what is the underlying motive here? This is what happens, you guys, when we normalize dysfunction. And these shutdowns are now becoming routine. And they're like holding it over in front of each other, like, haha, see, it's your fault. No, it's your fault. Your fault we're shutting down. What kind of fucking government keeps shutting down this often? We're supposed to be the leaders of the world. How is this routine instead of catastrophic? And that both of these parties have decided to hold the entire government hostage to this shit, and that's somehow an acceptable negotiation tactic? Isn't that sounds treasonous? That sounds like treason to me. And there's other countries have solutions for this, like automatic continuing resolution. Whether if Congress fails to pass a budget, then you get the previous year's budget automatically. Countries do this already. Automatically until they pass the new resolution. Why can't we? And this would completely eliminate shutdowns as a weapon. You could still have political fights about spending priorities, but you can't shut down the fucking government and hurt millions of people to make your fucking point. Think about that. And why don't we have automatic CRs? Because both parties want to keep shutdowns as leverage. Democrats used it against Trump in 2019 over the fucking border wall. And Republicans are using it now over healthcare subsidies. And they'll keep using it forever unless we force them to stop. And that's the truth. But we won't. Do you know what the sad part is? We won't, because 70% of Americans, according to the polls, listen to this, blames whichever party they don't like for the shutdown. So Republicans are blaming Dems. Dems are blaming Republicans. Congratulations, dummy. You're doing exactly what they want you to do. Imagine that. Republicans' fault. It's Democrats' fault. Stupid. They're doing this to you, to all of us. They're exempt from this shit. Do you understand? It means nothing for them. And nothing changes. The shutdown ends after a week or 2 or 3 or 4, or who gives a fuck? Neither side feels like blinking at the moment. And then they'll agree to kick the can down the road with another short-term CR. Oh, great. And then we watch the whole fucking song and dance again in 3 months. Wow. It is the government against the people. That's a good one. That's what I'm saying. And then while all this shit is happening, and while the economy is showing all these fucking cracks, and the government shutting itself down, and then nobody's addressing any actual problem, Trump, in his wisdom, decides that it's the perfect time to declare war on these fucking drug cartels. It's October, I think, 2nd. Let's see, pull it up here on Twitter. Yeah, so Trump, he's notifying Congress via confidential memorandum that the United States is now engaged in non-international armed conflict with designated drug cartels. What a bunch of fucking horseshit. He labeled them as non-state armed groups. I'm all for eliminating cartels and all that shit. Don't get me wrong. We're going to do this. We're going to do this while we're shut down and having a partisan battle over the budget, and our economy's already teetering. And you're telling me this is for the war on drugs because fentanyl is killing too many Americans, and we totally don't want Venezuela's oil while our economy is going to shit. So we don't want to depose the dictator in Venezuela, which his people love him. And we're going to install our own puppet government so that they can give out our giant oil companies great old contracts where we get to rape their natural resources. Does that sound familiar? Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Cool. So, we have unlawful combatants now, which legally justifies the U.S. to conduct those lethal strikes like we've seen them blow up those fucking boats. Think about that. And we can do this, or at least I should say Trump could do this, without congressional approval, without any arrests, without any trial. You can straight up assassinate these people because you deem them as their cartels, and we are currently in conflict. We're talking about 3 military operations in September, and that killed 17 people at least, and they were suspected of narco trafficking in the vessels that they got shot down in the Caribbean Sea. Drone strikes, Hellfire missiles, you see? Think about that. From fucking Reaper drones. And the defense secretary, fucking Hegseth, announced another fucking strike and killed 4 more of these alleged narco terrorists. What happened to no new wars? No new conflicts? That's fucking strange. And their memo was citing what I told you earlier, 100,000 fucking deaths from fentanyl overdoses and other narcotics. And they're calling that's their pretext. That's their armed attack on the homeland. And it's a creative interpretation of international law. Basically, every legal scholar says it's bullshit. Like, everyone knows trafficking drugs is obviously bad, bro. But calling it an armed attack that justifies military force, that's a massive fucking stretch. And that opens the door to all sorts of abuse. That's crazy. So you got Trump targeting the Sinaloa cartel, all these other fucking cartel, Tren de Aragua, constantly hear about them from fucking Venezuela. This Trump, they live like rent-free in his head. And he designated all them foreign terrorist organizations back in January with an executive order, and then he put $50 million bounties on their leaders? What? We have a fucking bounty to kill a head of a nation. And we could just kill them without any due process. Is this sound democratic at all? This is crazy. This is crazy, guys. No due process. Nobody is batting an eye. We are in such a weird political climate that we can put a $50 million bounty on Maduro, a head of a state, and just go, yeah, well, this is an armed conflict. We're fighting cartels, drug trafficking bad, and parking fucking destroyers off the coast near Venezuela? You what, bro? What are we doing? Is this America first? Dude, I want to be really clear about what's happening here. This isn't a new development, dude. Trump's been talking about this shit since the 2024 campaign. He literally said he'd declare war on cartels and then use spec ops and the Navy to target them. And we ate that shit up. A lot of people that voted for him ate that shit up. Because fentanyl that's legitimately a fucking horrendous drug, and it does kill hundreds of thousands probably. And it feels like someone should obviously do something about that, but something doesn't mean unilaterally declaring war without Congress and then assassinating people in international waters. The fuck? We are the bastion of democracy. You what? The legal justification for this is insane. And Trump is invoking Article 2 self-defense powers for it, claiming that drug trafficking constitutes an armed attack under a UN charter? This shit is fucking laughable, dude. And look, we got people in the comments that saying fentanyl is a weapon as it's distributed. 100K died each year during Biden. Okay, dude, so we're just good. Due process doesn't mean shit because we don't have strict control of our borders. So unilaterally assassinate people in open waters. Great. Put $50 million bounties on the heads of state? Totally. Okay. So pretty much, I mean, think about this is fucking insane. We have to argue how this is not fair. This is crazy. So the September strikes look like this in practice. Fire up a nice little Reaper drone based out of some fucking Honduran launch pad or something. Then you get Hellfire missiles at some Venezuelan vessels. That's what they claim. Who knows? In the information age, I don't even know what's real anymore. Or is that a pretext? Hey, we got some people on international water. Let's blow them up so they can't do anything, say anything. We're going to claim the boat had drugs on it. And that's how we're going to invade a country and take their fucking oil. We will absolutely depose the head of state, Maduro. We will bring down a color revolution on their heads and install a puppet government that allows Exxon and all our other big oil companies to come in and take all the oil. But you see, we freed Venezuelans to do this. The people wanted this. Right? You have these vessels in the Caribbean, dude, that were allegedly carrying cocaine and fentanyl, allegedly, to the U.S. East Coast. Why didn't they send boats there to confirm that there was literally fentanyl on them? I didn't read of any confirmation. If somebody knows, send it to me, please. Because it's weird how we just blow fuckers up and we don't send in teams to confirm the drugs. Isn't that strange? So we killed 7 fucking people on the first strike. And then I think, I'm not for sure, that it said we seized products, but I didn't see anything specifically. So I may be mistaken, but I'm not sure. So I do know that we somehow drone struck. I think somebody said it was confirmed. Okay. So let's just say there were drugs on the ship. Fine. So we'll walk back that last statement. But saying it was self-defense against terrorists is pretty fucking crazy. That to me that's a stretch, bro. Reaper droning people in open waters. You couldn't go and arrest them. You couldn't make a scene out of them on TV. You think those people would have willingly gave their lives for some fucking drugs? Just saying. That one to me is a bit of a stretch, okay, as a self-defense argument there. And then we had another drone strike that killed 10 more people, and these were also allegedly linked to Aragua. God, I can never say that name right. Why didn't we just arrest these people? Why don't we parade them on TV so we can show Americans? You'd make a stronger case that way. By showing Americans the drug smugglers, where they come from, and then the drugs that they were smuggling, instead of just blowing them up willy-nilly like that, is very undemocratic, I would say. It's actually it's quite crazy. We're sanctioning assassinations. We're not supposed to be the country that does that because we're above everybody else. But I guess morality has essentially fallen to the wayside, even in our country. So, okay. Think about this shit. You're spending how much? How much are you getting taxed for us to just bomb random fucking boats in the Caribbean? Isn't that what our Coast Guard is supposed to be doing? Why are we parking destroyers outside of fucking Venezuela's waters? Weird. Does this make any fucking sense to anybody? Doesn't it feel like we have bigger fish to fry? Americans can't really afford shit. Does this look like a superficial win to anybody else? We bombed some fucking drug smugglers, seized their drugs, whatever. And hey, bro, I can't afford groceries. Hey, I can't pay my car note. Hey, I don't have a job. There's ghost jobs. Hey, the million of other problems the average American is having, can we solve that first? Can we put America first? I don't care about some fuckers in a boat carrying their fucking whatever, cocaine and all that shit. That's the Coast Guard job. Call our fucking ships back. Hey, why don't we fix the country first? Okay? Really seal up the borders in all our waters. How are they getting in there then? Where's the Coast Guard? So we got all this money. Our defense department is the Pentagon is so bloated. And someone just said one of those missiles the drone uses is $100K, $100,000. Okay. And you got to think, somebody says seize the drugs just to sell it themselves. Do you remember that the CIA was funding all these banana republics and all these dictators with the fucking drug money? That they're facilitating the drug trade in the United States in order to exchange that for influence on these banana republics? Do you guys remember that? That our CIA was making it possible for drugs to enter this country? Haha, the Coke era, exactly. You remember that? Now we're bombing them, acting like we have the moral superiority here. Someone said the Coke Import Agency. Jesus, yeah. And for those arguing, they'll think, or they're for it, they'll think that on the surface it's okay because we're killing drug smugglers, fuck it, and seizing fentanyl sounds like a good thing, of course. You know, why are you complaining about this? And it's fair. Fair question, I get it. What's actually fucked up on multiple levels, though, is firstly, the legal issue, guys, the War Powers Resolution That requires the president to notify Congress within 48 hours of military action. This is the balance of power we're supposed to have in our country. We don't have it. And that limits that action to 60 days without congressional approval. So Trump notified Congress on October 2nd, which was weeks after the first strikes happened in September. So he already violated the law. And even with the notification, the 60-day clock is ticking. And there's no indication that Congress is going to authorize this. Right? Second, there's the precedent issue. If the president can unilaterally declare organizations as armed groups and that their members are, quote, unlawful combatants and that they're subject to extrajudicial killing, what stops the next president from doing that exact same thing to domestic groups? Like, what stops a future administration from labeling, say, Proud Boys or something else on the conservative side if we have a democratic government? I mean, we just did it with Antifa. But if you label them as armed groups, imagine that, and then drone striking members, Americans without trial. This is a massive expansion of executive power that should scare the fuck, regardless how you feel about drug cartels. For conservatives, this should be crazy that we went this route. This is the party of small government, of expanding government powers is a big no-no. We just expanded that again, but it's our side. That's how the conservatives see it. And they willfully clap forward for it. Wow. They'll egg this on. So, okay. Obama already did it too. Obama was the very first president that drone struck. Okay, he was, I think, ISIS, correct? Correct me if I'm wrong. He drone struck an American citizen that was ISIS or Al-Qaeda. I can't even remember. Jeez. So that was the first time we've ever killed an American citizen. But he was working directly. He's one of the heads of those organizations. And he was one of the major planners in there. I have to look at that again. So I forgot what that guy's name was. If somebody in the chat remembers the U.S. citizen, what was his name? Somebody said Obama killed 4 citizens with drone strikes. I don't remember what the first one's name was. I just remember it was a big, big deal because that opened up, again, a can of fucking worms for the future. So, what could you say the third one is? I guess you could say, how effective is the, quote, war on drugs? How effective has it been? Because we've been fighting that shit since Nixon for 50 fucking years. We spent trillions of dollars, most likely, and we militarized our entire police force, and we incarcerated probably millions of people. And the drugs are still available and more deadly than ever, by the way. So what makes anyone think that killing some fucking smugglers in the middle of the Caribbean is going to solve the fentanyl crisis? When 70% of the fentanyl comes through legal ports of entry. Does that make any sense? And then the 80% of those overdose deaths, they're from pills that are manufactured in labs. We're not even targeting those. You understand how stupid this is? And then I'll give you another one. Fourth, there's the international relations issue with the Mexico's president, Claudia Sheinbaum. She repeatedly already said no U.S. invasion, and that we already isolated Canada and shit on them, okay? And then Trump claims he briefed her up on these operations and that they're only happening in international waters, not Mexican territory. The fact is the 6 of the 8 cartels he designated are Mexican organizations. And if he declares, to extend these strikes to cartel labs in Mexico, we're talking about massive sovereignty violations. And that could blow up our entire relationship. Our second largest trading partner, our southern border shared with them. Most likely the entire government in Mexico is corrupt and taking money from the cartel. Duh. Practically a failed state in that sense. So are we really going to open up a front to target and institute in a holy shit next level war on drugs by dealing with it in the heartland of our southern border? Our southern, really? We're going to, really? Can you see how messed up that this could get? Jeez, man. And Venezuela, I don't even know what to say about Venezuela. They'll probably say the same shit that most of the banana republics said. It's imperialism, imperialist aggression. Mexico, I think I saw the Scheinbaum was saying that it's the United States who's like flowing a bunch of weapons. The only reason the cartel is so well armed is because they're buying American, and American somehow gun manufacturers in one way or another are fueling top end, top spec military grade shit to the cartel. So you have them like pretty much out-armed the fucking local police for sure, if maybe not the military. So, how explain that one? Dude, 70% of their guns are American guns. So, is the United States going to call an emergency session on that shit? That's weird. If we're really concerned with violence, how are they getting all our weapons? So anyways, Trump gave himself the permission to conduct a military operation anywhere in the world, pretty much wherever he wants. Right now, specifically in Latin America, no permission, designate somebody an armed combatant, and we're ready to rock. Drone strike the shit out of them. And in the future, we'll be drone striking domestic terrorists. And who will that be? It depends who the future president designates as domestic terrorist, isn't it? So, certainly interesting. And while Trump's framing this as like an America first, protecting the homeland kind of shit, what is he actually doing? Think about this. He's using the fentanyl crisis as justification for expanding military operations in Latin America. Why? How's that America first? So you're going to set up permanent military presence now in the Caribbean for what? Interdiction operations? You're putting the U.S. Southern Command in charge of what used to be law enforcement operation? So we're militarizing the police, and we're shifting from the DEA model of arrest and prosecution to what? A Pentagon model of targeted killings brought to you by Palantir AI, tracking criminals in real time. And how long until that machine turns inward on the domestic population? Isn't that strange how we're accepting the erosion of our rights? Think about that. You have to see this for what it is in the future, not for what it's doing today. It sounds nice. It's all fucking roses and sunshine until you get a president you don't like. Or I should say, better yet, a president that doesn't like you. Think, you guys. This is the same guy. I'm telling you. He said he's done with forever wars. He criticized Bush for Iraq, Obama for fucking Libya. Now he's starting undeclared wars against non-state actors in multiple countries using the same legal justifications that led to Guantanamo and extraordinary rendition and all the post 9/11 abuses that we said we'd never do again. May I remind you that? And then you had the ACLU. They filed a lawsuit today. I believe it was calling the assassination policy. That's what they're calling it. And they're right, because that's what Trump created. It's a system where the executive branch can designate anyone it wants as an unlawful combatant. And you can kill them without charges, without a fucking trial, without any oversight except a closed door memo to congressional intelligence committees. And it won't be declassified probably for like 25 years. So they're going to get away with it. Do you understand? The problem is, and this should piss you off, is that we really do have a fentanyl crisis. That's real. We do have 100,000 people dying yearly from this shit. And that's more than car accidents and fucking gun deaths combined, probably. It's devastating communities across the United States. And it requires, yes, serious policy response. But killing smugglers in the Caribbean isn't fucking serious policy. That shit is theater, dude. It's designed to look tough. Who manufactures most of that? The precursor. China. China makes most of the precursor that they use to cook up all this fentanyl shit. So are we going to go to war with China, the producer? Or are we going to bomb some toads in the middle of the fucking Caribbean? And we're acting like we're fixing the problem. Really? They will have 20 other toads to replace those people. This shit is crazy. So we're acting tough. We're looking tough while avoiding the real hard work and addressing why Americans are using fentanyl in the first place. Why? You want to solve the fentanyl crisis? Address the economic despair in communities where people are turning to these stupid fucking drugs because they don't have jobs or any fucking hope, and crack down on pill mills because these fucking doctors are overprescribing opiates and they create all these addictions as well. That's the legal side. How many doctors did we put in jail? Who was that? The Sackler family? How many millions of Americans ended up addicted to opioids and either took their lives or destroyed their lives? Are they in prison? Are we waging war on pharma for destroying the health of Americans more than any of these fentanyl toads in the Caribbean could ever? They couldn't dream of prescribing as much drugs to Americans than fucking Big Pharma does, with the hundreds of billions in profit that Big Pharma makes. And they get to do this legally, and they get to donate to our government, sponsored by Pfizer, richer than ever. That's correct. Are we going to go after the Chinese manufacturers who supply that precursor? We know who they are. And they send them to the Mexican labs. And they work with Mexico as a partner instead of treating them like an enemy. Are we going to handle that? No, we will bomb toads out of the water. Because the hard part, that will require real bipartisan cooperation. And that's a long-term investment. That's a real war. And then you have to admit that the drug addiction is a public health crisis and not a military problem. Good luck with that, right? So Trump pulls the military, launches some fucking drone strikes, kills a couple dozen smuggler toads. They'll just be replaced tomorrow with some poor fucking farmers. And then you declare victory while the overdosing continues stateside and climbing, most likely. Our economy is so shit that people are going to probably turn to more drugs to cope with the fact that they're falling behind in life. Isn't that insane? The Government Accountability Office, they released a report saying that the post-strike data shows cartel recruitment actually spikes after a military operation because the cartels pay better wages to compensate for the increased risk. So we're literally making the problem worse while pretending we're solving that shit. They'll just throw infinite money at the fucking problem. That's what the cartels do. They have infinite money because infinite amount of Americans are doing these drugs. We are the largest drug market in the world. And then at the same time, in this week, Trump declares war on the cartels and he's letting in 600,000 Chinese students. Do you remember that? With our A1 grade economy, we're going to bring in 600,000 Chinese students to American universities. Remember in the previous stream? And the Chinese law, the same Chinese who manufacture the precursor and work with the Mexican cartels to create the final product that they're sending in to kill Americans, that Chinese government requires any Chinese citizen to cooperate with intelligence services if asked. So we're simultaneously militarizing our drug policy while opening the door to potential espionage from our biggest geopolitical rival. This is winning on a level never seen before. Hand over your awards right now. Am I the only one? The cognitive dissonance is fucking astounding. We're tough on cartels, but we're soft on China. So we're declaring war on non-state actors in Venezuela, but we suck up to Israel and Saudi Arabia who fund terrorism. And we're spending millions. We're spending billions of dollars on interdiction in the Caribbean while cutting funding for treatment programs at home. None of that makes any fucking sense until you understand it's all about optics and it's all political theater. Trump's base loves this, dude. His approval rating is 70%. Very nice. Good job. And Fox News is running segments praising him as a warrior president. Conservative influencers are cucking out crazy. Trump finally delivers. America first means carpet bombs for cartels. And then on the left, you got The Guardian. They're calling him the unconstitutional overreach president and stochastic escalation. And that risks blowback across all of Latin America. because we are essentially triggering a sovereign crisis with these countries, because at any moment we can just literally bomb you because we designate groups within your country as terrorist or enemy combatants, and we could send little green men. I mean, the pretext, it was already created. Russia knows how to do this better than anyone. Why couldn't we just copy them? Hey, we need to reset the economy anyway. Why not fire off a war? And why not do it in our own backyard where we got the best logistics ever? Latin America. It's about time we reset the fucking geopolitical space down there. We've been losing support ever since China's becoming most of their main trading partners. It'd be nice to go take all their natural resources. Yeah. Is that the long-term play? And me, I'm just sitting here watching all these stories unfold, all simultaneously. All look so stupid. I have so many other headlines to cover. All the fucking subprime auto lenders collapsing. No big deal in America. The government shutting down. Oh, dude, it's normal. We're not trying to fund illegals. Oh, Trump just unilaterally assassinating fuckers and declaring war on cartels. Oh, more of the same. Nothing ever changes. There's patterns in all of these. And that's America's institutions are completely fucking broken. And nobody in power is interested in fixing them. Why? Because dysfunction serves their interest. Do you understand? The subprime auto crisis, that shows that our economy is built on fucking fraud and predatory lending to people who have no other option. And when it collapses, the people who created the fraud get golden parachutes, while the working class borrowers get their cars repossessed and their credit destroyed. Congratulations, we fucked the little guy. Next, the government shutdown. Cool story. That shows our political system devolved into a performative outrage. It's all for show. It's all for awards. Pin them on me, please. Both parties would rather score points and hurt millions of Americans in the process than actually governing this fucking country and doing what needs to be done to actually save it from ruin, because there's no consequences for them. They still get paid, they still get reelected, and the media still treats them like they're serious people instead of the fucking clowns that they are. And then we have the fucking cartel somehow mixed up in all this fucking bullshit. The war, the cartel war. It shows our forest policies based on military solutions to complex problems. We'd rather bomb smugglers than address why they exist